Good afternoon and welcome to the Locked On NBA Daily Live Trade Deadline Special. We have a ton to get to today. Giannis not getting traded today, so where does that leave the Bucks, and what happens to Giannis this summer? Plus, we've got the latest on every move as the dominoes start to fall. Let's jump in.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. However you're tuning in on YouTube or on your podcast app, thanks for making us your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with Matt Morant Hayes. We are live on YouTube 2 hours before the NBA trade deadline. We have a ton to get to. We're going to be breaking down every trade during the show. We're going to be joined by some of Locked On's local experts for more expertise on their teams. But guys, let's start with the breaking news out of Milwaukee. This is from Shams, who reports that the Milwaukee Bucks have indicated to teams that they are keeping Giannis Antetokounmpo through the trade deadline and will start making other trades. Sources tell ESPN. We saw them make a minor move to get Nick Richards. Congratulations, I suppose, to the Milwaukee Bucks. But Matt, you've been talking a lot lately about how this was the most likely scenario for a while now, that Giannis stays with the Bucks beyond the trade deadline. What do you make of the news, and what do you think this means for the next couple of hours here?
I mean, it's like the rational decision for the Bucks, and it's. I do think that Giannis deserves a lot of credit for not forcing them into a bad situation, because he could have walked in on Monday and been like, "Okay, I want out. You're going to send me to this team or this team. These are your two choices," and that would have put a lot of pressure on them and narrowed it, and it would have wound up with them getting a pretty bad deal because nobody had a good deal. I said on Monday, the Warriors deal was crap. I said it, and the Bucks agreed. And everyone that hyped that deal up, everyone needs to go back to the source, because I don't know who it was, but I will tell you I can tell it was the same person talking to every reporter and giving the same talking points. This stuff drives me nuts, by the way. When we have sources that are basically giving talking points to reporters that are then distributed, it makes me insane. I understand you can't go back. Like, I don't think John Horst talked to anybody this week, except for people in Milwaukee. I don't think that they talked to anybody. And everybody else was like, oh yeah, we're in the lead. Minnesota's clearly in the lead. The Warriors, they have a package that can surpass anybody. I guess not, because it didn't get taken. So it's the right move. You wait. I'm wearing this Rockets hat today because I think they're the big winners in the Giannis sweepstake. Because they're going to go through this playoff run. They're going to analyze who can and can't play. They're going to make decisions on this roster about who needs to stay and who needs to go. And they've got players and pick assets. Rockets, if they want to get Giannis, if they want to win a championship, honestly, today's outcome was great for them, since they were not willing to get involved at the deadline.
Are you saying that you think the Rockets, if the season doesn't end the way they want, they can get involved in the Giannis sweepstakes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I agree. If they put Jabari alone on the table is almost better than any other asset. Then on top of that, they have picks that's not their own picks, so it doesn't matter how good they are. So yeah, I can completely, if that does happen and they're willing to make another big trade after trading for Kevin Durant, they have the best offer easily.
If Alperen Sengun comes into the playoffs and absolutely dominates, and he has a phenomenal first round or second round series, then that changes things.
Mm-hmm.
The Houston Rockets, according to who I've talked to, are not aligned on Alperen Sengun. Some people think that he's a franchise player, and they want to hold on to him because he's only going to get better. And I think that's the way most people feel. Not everybody in the organization feels that way. And that's going to be like a tension point. If you offer Alperen Sengun and picks, that is light years beyond anything else anyone has. That's better than Wolves. It's better than Knicks this summer. Like, you'd rather have Sengun than Towns. You just would, because of the upside.
Yeah.
And the picks are going to be better.
Yeah. And the contract isn't as bad either. I mean, that's an interesting standpoint. The Giannis thing is going to give us content all summer long, so stay here Locked On. But by the way, before Wes takes back over, I promised my mom, today is my mama's 70th birthday. I promised her on the live show I was going to tell her happy birthday to the world. So happy birthday, Mama Hayes.
Happy birthday, Mama Hayes.
Happy birthday, Mama Hayes.
Look, we do have a lot of time to talk about what this means for Giannis this summer. I do want to talk about what this means for the rest of the season, though, because you've already got reports maybe indicating that Giannis could get shut down for the rest of the season. I'm with you here on Matt.
Yeah. Eric Nem from The Athletic, who actually does talk to the Bucks and specifically has a really good standing relationship with Giannis, said the plan is for him to play.
Well, that struck me as maybe a last bit of leverage right before maybe trying to force something to happen. I don't know. But look, what does this mean for the Bucks going forward, right? Because Giannis is on the team. Eric Nem is reporting that he will play when he is healthy. Right now, obviously, he's still currently hurt with that calf injury. The Bucks are making a couple moves here before the deadline. Like, what does this mean, Hayes, from Milwaukee going forward? Because they're a pretty good team. They're an okay team. When Giannis is on the court, they're bad when he's off the court. They're not very good overall, obviously. What does this mean for them going forward for the rest of the season?
Man, I mean, I think this means that Giannis is gonna come back. They're gonna make a go at it with the Bulls sucking the rest of this year. Them and the Charlotte Hornets they both have a chance to get into that playing area, and I think that's just they're gonna try to compete this thing out. Now, I don't know if that's still the best thing because I still think the best, if you want to convince Giannis to stay, you have to, if you get some lottery luck in this draft and say, hey, we got this new young piece that's gonna help extend your career and we can compete while this guy's learning. I think that's still the best outcome, but I still think Giannis is going to get moved one way or another. So,
yeah, they're 15-15 this season with Giannis. I don't know what the record is with KPJ. They are. I mean, look, this was reported here and there along the way. If you're one of the news breakers, you wanted to focus on who could get Giannis because that's going to get you the most attention. Like I do this. That's completely normal. But there also was all this reporting of like the Bucks are still trying to make moves. And like I've talked about that. The Bucks this entire time were calling teams and being like, hey, so what about this guy? Like we'd like to trade for him. And that team would respond with, yeah, no, we can talk about that. So Giannis, like, do you want to send him to us or but now with them having just told everybody, hey, he's off the table, like they're actively pursuing, like they just traded for a center, Nick Richards out of Phoenix. They traded
good move for them too.
Yeah, it was a good move. Like they're adding little pieces. I don't think it's enough, but they're trying. Like they are looking to make upgrades. I don't know if anything can get them. Like the best you can kind of do is like you might be able to sneak into the sixth if one of the teams just absolutely falls apart down the stretch. That's possible. But it's more likely they're going to be a play-in team still. And you know, Giannis kind of said like he's not interested in being on a play-in team. He doesn't want to be fighting for his life for the play-in tournament. As far as playing him, I don't think they should. I think they should shut him down because one, he's got a calf injury, man. Like, imagine we go through this entire thing and then God forbid something happens that I'm not even going to say the words of. Like, that's apocalyptic. It's just apocalyptic. You know, so, I think they need to be very careful, both he and the Bucks. Like, you need to realistically ask yourself, what is making the playoffs worth to you? And you have to ask yourself very seriously, with this team, can we knock off 3 opponents? If you could say we can make the finals, okay. And I understand the East is open, but you're going to be able to talk yourself into, we can knock off 3 opponents. And it can't just be a shortcut of like, well, we have Giannis. Okay, well, you had Giannis last year versus the Pacers. Like, hasn't worked. You've lost to the Heat twice in the first round. And that team's not good. Has never been good. So, except 2022. They were good in 2022, Wes. So you've got to be able to like make that a serious argument. Unless you can do that, I think they need to shut him down.
Well, Hayes, they can go the other way here, and we've already heard some stuff about, hey, well, they could be bad, right? You slow play the Giannis injury. Right, you be careful with it, maybe the more appropriate phrasing of it. You be careful with it, to Matt's point. You don't want anything apocalyptic here. Maybe you miss the playoffs. Maybe you get lucky in the lottery. Maybe you get a really good pick in what's supposed to be a really loaded NBA draft here. Or the Bucks have clearly not shut down the notion of keeping Giannis, getting him to sign an extension in October. Hayes, do you think that that's possible at this point now that they've kept him through the deadline?
I mean, anything's possible. I always go back to it. Giannis still doesn't want to leave Milwaukee. It's more something that he feels like he may have to do than something he wants to do. That hearing that quote from him, like saying, my dad's buried in Milwaukee, my kid's passport say Milwaukee, like to me, that shows that he has a genuine love for that city. So I won't count it out as a possibility. I probably put it at 60-40, the 60% leaning towards a trade, 40% leaning that he signs an extension in Milwaukee.
I think the Bucks would probably take that percent. Bucks fans would take that percentage at this point, Matt.
I think it's 30-70
okay.
for him to stay. I just don't. somebody was in my mentions, and I've talked to Bucks fans about this, and I actually applaud Bucks fans because Bucks fans have been very consistent, which is no matter how miserable this gets for them, they're like, having Giannis is better than not having Giannis. That's it. Like, no matter what. It's like, yeah, I'd rather be stuck in the play-in for 10 years with Giannis than not have him on my team. And I really respect that. Giannis, however, clearly does not feel that way. Giannis he had an interview this week where he talked about, I want to stay in Milwaukee, but I want to stay if I'm competing for championships. That's what he cares about. This is one of the most maniacally competitive dudes in the league. In a league full of psychopath competitors, Giannis is a cut above. You cannot, with Kyle Kuzma and Bobby Portis and this roster, make a serious case for them as a championship team in the next 3 years. You can't. You cannot. So they either got to pull a rabbit out of a hat. They win the lottery is not going to do it. Giannis is not going to be like, I get to play with an 18-year-old? No. So you trade that pick, okay. But they're going to have to get super creative if they want that extension.
If you end up getting a good pick in this draft and you end up trading it for some last-ditch help here for Giannis, not knowing whether or not
you can't. I don't think you can do that.
That is bold, but we've seen this Bucks team make those kinds of decisions before. So maybe not as bold as it is. It might not be surprising. Even that's a step above what. Yeah, that's
wild.
That's wild. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis's future there with Camille Davis later on in the show. But we're going to talk about the Mavericks next, who have moved forward with the Cooper Flag era. What did they really get out of the Anthony Davis deal? Nick Angstadt from Locked On Mavericks joins the show next. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding somebody willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed-sponsored jobs is the move, because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit criteria like skills, certifications, and location. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want somebody who can help. I'd want somebody with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and target exactly what it is that you're looking for. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a good fit. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life this year. TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with local TurboTax experts in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms, and they work to get you every deduction possible. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. So for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just filed by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Back here on Locked On NBA Daily, it's our live NBA trade deadline special. As always, we air at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts on most days when we're not doing the trade deadline stuff. Nick Angstadt from Locked On Mavericks joins us now. Nick, big news for you. Anthony Davis out. A whole lot of other stuff in. What did you make of the return for Anthony Davis, and how does this help the Mavericks build around Cooper Flag moving forward?
Thanks for asking, Wes. This was a monumental move for the Dallas Mavericks and for NBA media in general. The Dallas Mavericks made a move that Matt Moore liked. And, we just need to take a second and just, you take your wins. With a guy that hates every team out there, likes a move that you do, it really makes you look in the mirror, because I like this move too. And if Matt liked it as well, then now I don't know what to think about it.
No. I mean, hey, I think maybe somebody that questioned Luka Doncic's defense and his conditioning for years should not have traded him Anyway, you work that out with them. And now that we've seen the same problems with the Los Angeles Lakers, maybe that person knows a little bit something. Also, somebody who knows that Anthony Davis is unreliable because of his injury history and is ultimately also just not that good.
It was not good this year.
Knows what he was doing. This is great job though by the Mavericks. I am so glad that you're going to actually you get to close the chapter on this. You finally get everyone gets to move on.
Yeah.
And you picked up the assets to actually build a young, exciting team around Cooper. This was win upon win upon win. Get Kyrie up out of there, and you guys are in great shape. And PJ.
Nick, is that the next step here? Are the next couple hours? Is there any chance that they make more moves like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the whole thing about this is flexibility, and one of the reasons why they had to make an Anthony Davis move, or at least a move in general in this deadline, is because they were going to be a second apron team next year. They're going to be a top 5 payroll going into next season if they kept everybody, signed the draft pick, signed some of the guys they want to keep, all that stuff. And this team is not a top 5 team in any stretch of the word, in any metric. You could put it in top 5 bottom defense, I guess, if you want to put it that way, for ranking the opposite way. And so they needed to make some kind of move. And to make the Anthony Davis move, to get the 3 things that we asked for them to get, right? All through this time, we were talking about the Anthony Davis rumors. It was, you needed to get salary relief. You needed to get young players you could take flyers on, which would be great, but you definitely needed to get draft compensation. And the draft compensation is not great. People have talked about it all over the place and said maybe these are the 2 worst first-round picks that have ever been traded. But hey, the Mavs before this had 1 pick in this draft, and now they have 3. So okay, fine, we'll take that. They needed all those things, and then they also got a more salary relief by trading D'Angelo Russell and Jaden Hardy. Those are sneaky moves in this trade. That Jaden Hardy was going to have $6 million next year. D'Angelo Russell was going to have $5.6 million as a player option next year. That was actually a really bad contract that Nico gave him, looking back at it, if Jason Kidd wasn't going to play him at all. And so the Mavs got all the things they wanted. Now, it's not as high of a level as, a lot of casual fans or fans of the Mavs will look at this and go, that's all we got? We got Luka. You traded Luka for Max Christie, a Lakers first, and now all the stuff they got for AD. You can't look at it that way. You can't compound an awful decision and make it even worse for you going forward by giving you less flexibility. And the thing with Anthony Davis is they wanted an extension. Rich Paul and Clutch were like, all right, we need an extension. And if you can't give us an extension, then send us somewhere that will give us an extension. And now maybe the Wizards are that team.
Hayes, I want to get your take on this trade, but we've kind of talked around it, so I just want to lay out the particulars for people who might not know. So in the trade, Washington gets Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, Dante Exum, and then the Mavericks are getting Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley III, and then those first-round picks that Nick was talking about. It's a 2026 first from OKC, which is probably going to end up being the 30th pick in the draft, and then a Warriors top 20 protected first in 2030. And if it doesn't convey that year, it turns into a second-round pick in the same year in 2030. But what did you make of the move, Hayes?
I think the Mavs got great value for Anthony Davis, considering all things. He still doesn't play a lot of games. The contract is huge. I think that the Mavs got a great value out of that contract, more than I thought they were going to get. The question, I don't have any questions about what the Mavs got. They got great value. I'm worried about what the heck the Wizards' plan are. Are you really thinking you're going to be this playoff team with Trey and AD? That's the concerning part of all this, because whatever, I know weed is now legal in DC, but whatever they're smoking down there, that's pretty strong. It's pretty strong.
We did a crossover with the Locked On Wizards guys last night, and they were giddy about him because Anthony Davis is a top 5 talent that's probably ever played for that franchise. Right? Michael Jordan, great. Okay, cool.
No.
Wes Unseld.
Wes Unseld, like that.
John Wall.
John Wall,
his jersey retired.
John Wall.
No, they did not. No. They didn't retire John Wall's jersey. They did a celebration for John Wall that was a pre-jersey retirement. So if you celebrate a player more than once like that, the Mavs did several different celebrations for Dirk, obviously. But yeah, right. to do a pre-jersey celebration,
we got time. It's Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes.
Yep, great. Yep.
Wall.
Anthony Davis is a better NBA player overall than John Wall. Gilbert Arenas for those 3 years.
He's prestige zone is, but in actuality,
Anthony Davis is a 10-time All-Star.
Yeah, he certainly is. He did play for the Lakers. That's true. But
won a title.
Yeah, he did win a title. That's true.
Stop. Matt Moore, true. None of the NBA titles, none of the NBA playoff wins ever matter. Except for the Nuggets ones, and the Western Conference Finals the Grizzlies made. Those are the only ones that matter.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Nick, I want to ask you about the Mavericks, what they do now, because you mentioned the flexibility and all the stuff that they do. Cooper Flag, is he a point guard? Is he a point, whatever it is? How do you build around Cooper Flag? Like, what's the vision now for the Mavericks going forward?
Yeah, the vision, by the way, that word is banned on our show. We're not allowed to say the V word anymore on our show.
What's the plan? The forward-looking plan.
Yeah, right.
What's the concept of the plan?
The thing about Cooper Flag is he is this malleable player that you can fit almost any team around, right? He can play a 4, he can play the 3, he can drive to the rim. His shot is not great right now, but that's the thing that is the one thing that he needs to work on. Defensively, he can guard. He's been really good in isolation this year. He can be a help defender at the rim. You can do all kinds of things with him. And so obviously the Mavs need guards. They'll get Kyrie back. They'll probably keep him for next year even, but they need guards. They can put anything around him, right? Like that's kind of the thing with Cooper Flag. And so I think that this is a good opportunity for the Mavericks to try to get out of this. Our team is this one thing. We're going to build around these bigs, and then none of the bigs played. And like, this is what we're going to do. But now now you go into the draft and you're not like, man, we can't really pick Cam Boozer because we have all these guys at his position. And man, we can't really pick Kingston Flemings because we have all these guys. Like, they don't have that problem.
If you're like trying to build out how to build an offense around him, is the goal basically to find players that can hit anything other than a floater, since that's all he makes?
And that's all Najee Marshall makes. And it's like, and PJ Washington, that's all he's making right now. Like that is a problem for the Mavericks right now. So yeah, they need more 3-point shooting. The 3-point shooting has been such a big problem for the Mavericks this whole season.
How worried are you that Jason Kidd's going to get involved and wind them trading picks to try and upgrade the roster?
I've been asking people this question because this is the thing that a lot of people around the Mavs have been talking about, is that there is this movement behind the scenes that Jason Kidd is trying to vie for this GM job, and that he's trying to move his way and either put Frank Vogel as the coach or bring Sean Sweeney back or whatever they want to do with that. That's definitely a thing that could happen. I've been waiting for like, all right, what's the move? And if they had traded like a D'Angelo Russell with a second round pick or draft compensation to get off of some of these guys, or if they brought in like a Chris Paul, which I guess still could happen, if they're like trying to go for it in a way, I would see that. But this Anthony Davis trade does not reek like coach makes move. You know, like he would want Anthony Davis to come back if Jason Kidd was like the shadow GM in charge. I would think. I've heard they want
Myers. That's what I've heard, is that
Myers Leonard.
Luka and then Flag and then Myers Leonard.
Myers Leonard for the spacing that would be very helpful.
I mean, Myers Leonard for ownership would be a preferred choice given his.
That would be a choice for sure for ownership.
For sure.
Yeah, they have talked to Bob Myers. They've tried to get Bob Myers, but he's not going to be swayed off of he's got a pretty cushy deal right now with this ownership thing and everything that he's dealt with. And so I don't think that's going to happen. The only other names that's really been mentioned for the Mavericks is Dennis Lindsey, who's with the Pistons, and I think he's doing all right over there.
I got another one for you. Brock Aller out of the Knicks. The other one I would keep an eye on.
Yeah, the Mavs have had interesting relationship with the Knicks in their front office over the last couple of years. So
yep.
First Jalen.
Do you think, Nick, based off of what you've seen from Anthony Davis this year, do you think that he and Trae Young, for the 20 to 30 games that Anthony will play next year, do you think that they will be able to be like, I was asking this question last night, what their preseason win total should be on my show Buckets, and the answers were between 36.5 and 40, and that kind of seems like what's the ceiling for this team is probably like 45 wins. The baseline's probably like 39. That's kind of what I think for the Wizards. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if Anthony Davis is going to play. You look at his games played. I mean, everybody's doing that, right, to see how many he's going to play. But when he did play, you said he didn't play well this year. He didn't play well for himself. That's for sure. He came in and he was out of shape. He had this retina surgery over the offseason and he wasn't able to work out, and so he wasn't able to get in shape. And then he came into camp and then he was overweight, and then we asked him about it, and he said, well, I do this on purpose. I come into camp, and then I work my way into shape. And I don't know, the first 2 months of the season I saw him, I don't think that was a springy, fast Anthony Davis. He does also need a pick and roll partner, though, and he did not have that with the Mavericks at all. The Mavs started Cooper Flag at point guard to begin the season. Their answer, like there was a breath of fresh air for the Mavericks in the middle of this season, was Ryan Nembhard, the 5'10" undrafted guy. That was their breath of fresh air. And when that happens, that's a bad sign for your team. Brandon Williams is the other one that's like, man, it's amazing to see see a guard that can actually dribble and penetrate into the lane, but he can't shoot it all. 19% from three. So I think with Anthony Davis having a pick and roll partner, that's going to be really good for him. The games that he plays, I think Sarr and Anthony Davis are going to be an incredible defensive front court. That's going to be a really good pairing right there. Sarr can play the pseudo 5 so that Anthony Davis can still play the 4 because he's still kind of adamant about that. But he did suck it up and played the 5 for the Mavericks too when they needed to. And I do think that the Trae and AD pairing is going to be good. It's just how many games is he going to play?
It's a great fit, man. The more I've gotten higher on the Wizards side of this, as much as if I, who think very little of Anthony Davis, who doesn't have a jump shot, who takes too many jumpers, who only is able to body small, undersized dudes, who flexes afterwards to make himself look all big and powerful, who leaves every game and doesn't return, whose actual switch defense is vastly overrated and isn't that much of a versatile defender as he's made out to be. Even I am like, okay, Trae Young and Anthony Davis is a pretty great combo when you put Sarr and Keyshawn George and Trey Johnson and or Darren Peterson and Champagnie. This is gonna work, I think, for the 30 or so games
for the games he plays. And if you get Anthony Davis within 15 feet of the basket, he is scoring. He is still really good in that area. It's just the ones where he starts 20 feet from the basket with a triple threat position or trying to back down guys like the Kobe the Kobe post ups from 20 feet. Those are just awful. Those did never work. And his jump shot was just not great this season. His 3-point shot hasn't been the same since the bubble. I mean, it's just that part's not working for him.
Nick, thanks so much for jumping on. Have fun with the Cooper Flag era.
Kicking me out. All right, see you guys.
Get out of here.
Get out of here, Nick. We're gonna be right back. We're gonna talk the next big name that could potentially be on the move. Not Giannis. Maybe it's Ja Morant. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everybody's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season's over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, let's talk about the other big name on the market, the teams that missed out on Giannis. Could they potentially go after Ja Morant? Should they potentially go after Ja Morant? Hayes, what do you think?
I think they should. I mean, why not? What do they have to lose? I like Ja Morant. A change of scenery for Ja, I think, is going to make all the difference in the world for Ja Morant. I think it's going to change his perception. I just think that it's run its course in Memphis, so why not?
Hayes has had a really good day personally, but from a fandom standpoint, you can tell that he's kind of in, sure, why not? Smoke him if you got him, after I just assumed he got moved for a bag of chips. We got to talk about that in a little bit. Got to get his view on that. I mean, look, if you're the Warriors, right? Are you like, Ja Morant's going to reinvigorate? No. Okay. So that's out. Miami, we talked about this. This makes the most sense. It's Terry Rozier and Simone Fontecchio for Ja. That makes sense. Like, it just does. Brett Siegel from Clutch Points has reported that the Grizzlies are still looking for a first for Ja, which I'm just kind of like, it's just not reasonable, and I think it's a bluff. I just don't.
Well, I think that's what teams are betting on, right? I think there are teams out there right now within the next hour and a half trying to call Memphis's bluff. That really, you're gonna hold out to Michael Cole, who co-hosts Locked On Grizzlies along with Joe Mullinex over there, has said, hasn't gone so far as to say it's a first-round pick, but definitely that the Grizzlies they need something tangible that they can at least say they got, right, outside of just the expiring contracts.
Unless a team comes in at the last minute and is so desperate. I'm trying to think of like who the desperate GMs are right now. You know, I don't think Miami's in that position. I don't think Miami's in a good position, but I don't think that they're desperate.
And they certainly don't act desperate, even if they ought to be.
So I don't have the only ones that should be acting desperate are the Kings, and the Kings aren't. The Kings are walking away from the table with Domantas Sabonis, which is insane. That's insane. That's crazy. Like, the Kings not doing anything is crazy. Them only doing Like,
I wouldn't have guessed they would do nothing at this trade deadline.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. Even for the Kings, this is ridiculous. Like, it is malpractice to stretch this out further. You are wasting fans' time. Like, this is brutal what they're doing to that franchise. So no, I just don't think if they hold on to Ja with this coaching staff and what's going on after trading Jaren, I mean, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be so, like, I'm at the point of, like, save these players from this coaching staff. That's where I'm at. Trade Santiago. I went on Locked On Grizzlies yesterday and said, trade Santiago Dama, trade Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, trade Brandon Clark, trade everyone that's over the age of 25 has got to go. They should, Ty Jerome was amazing last night. They should be absolutely shipping him out right now for a first. You can get a first for Ty Jerome. You can't get a first for John Morant. He's broken. You can't get a first round pick for a broken asset. What are they doing?
Well, that's sort of the issue then, isn't it? Right? I understand you're trying to move him, but if there's not a lot of teams that even want John Morant, Hayes, I'll ask it to you this way. Should there be teams in on John Morant, given what we've seen, of course, over the last couple of years here? But we've also seen this guy be an all-NBA type player. We've seen him perform at a really high level in a playoff series. I understand it was a while ago and a lot of things have happened since then, but when you look around the league, are there teams that should be looking at John Morant and saying, you know what, let's at least take a flyer on this guy?
Yes, because John Morant is still very talented. Don't get me wrong. I know we've talked about the off-the-court stuff was legitimate with Ja. You know, the fact that he is not attacking the rim as much. Like, there are legitimate concerns. But I think sometimes we do forget about the human element in the sense that sometimes, guess what? Like, when your situation changes, sometimes you're just not happy in that situation. And I know these guys get paid millions of dollars to play a game, and all that is legitimate. And I understand people that are like, well, just go out there and play basketball. But, like, there's a human element to this. And that's why I said earlier, I think it's just run its course in Memphis. If you get him within a good culture, with a good head coach, there's still a lot of talent. He's still a very young player as well. It's not like John Morant's 32, 33 years old. There's still a lot of runway there left in Ja's career.
I heard culture and I heard good coach.
It sounds like one team. Right? I told you the team I want him to go to Miami. So
yeah. Like, here's the thing. Ja's going to age out of all of his nonsense. He's going to get between 27, 28, and he's going to get bored with all of the stupid stuff that has caused him trouble off the court. Joe Molinax is obsessed with how many games he's played. One, I would just be like, look around you. No one's healthy. Two, like, Ja doesn't, this is my big thing. Ja, knock on wood, doesn't have a major surgery. He didn't have an ACL tear.
That's a good point.
He didn't have a meniscus removal. He hasn't had to have a surgery on his foot. He tore his labrum. He had another shoulder injury last year when they were basically tanking. That's it. That's all he's had. And, like, ankle injuries. Ja's had ankle injuries. It's basketball. Guys get ankle injuries. Like, there's so much upside and opportunity with Ja where it's like, he's going to round into shape. He's going to develop his jumper. You can't tell me he can't shoot. You just can't. Here's another thing, and this is what I was yelling about this on Locked On Grizz. He's averaging 8 assists this year. Why does that not matter?
He's always been a very good and a very underrated passer, even going back to his days in college. I remember putting highlight packages together for another job that I had about Morant, just some of the assists that he had in college.
Portland should be on the phone right now. Right now, Portland should be on the phone.
That's interesting.
With Robert Williams, a protected first, so that they can say, like, we got a first round pick. Just protect. Hey,
you can move Scoot in that deal, and Memphis can be like, hey, we got Scoot. He was a top pick.
Scoot's gonna do. Who better to throw Zach Edey entry passes than Scoot Henderson?
It's a good question.
Future of the Memphis Grizzlies.
It's a very good
that's
question.
Probably all Scoot Henderson's good for. So I mean, at least he can do that. Because listen, Scoot, say what you will about Scoot. Scoot, I know that he's still very young. I don't think Scoot's an NBA player, but hey, I could be wrong.
I want to go back to the Miami Heat part of this too, because I do believe that now that Giannis is off at least not an option over the next 1.5 hours here, I think the Heat are going to circle back to Ja Morant. Now, to Matt's point before, I don't think that they want to include a first-round pick in any kind of deal because they still have plans on trying to get Giannis this summer. The Heat are not going to do anything that's going to cost them a chance at potentially getting Giannis, and that's why I think we end up in this staring contest, this game of chicken of, okay, deadline's coming up. We're an hour and a half, we're an hour away, we're half an hour away from the deadline, you're really going to hold on to John Morant. Because I would argue that even if the Grizzlies want to position this as and try to posture as, hey, we need to get something back for John Morant, we can't just do it for expirings. If I'm the other team, I would be arguing, hey, we're doing you a favor by taking this John Morant money off your books for the next 2 years. You might not get draft compensation from us, but you're going to now have the flexibility because you're going to have the cap space this summer and next summer to take unwanted contracts from other teams and get draft compensation in that way. And I really do think that there, maybe this is just the Heat homer in me talking, but I do think that there's a lot of value in getting just off the money altogether here.
I mean, I won't go that far. It's not like you're the only team that has expiring contracts, Wes. Like,
no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not even trying to. Just in general, like any team that has expiring contracts.
You are just the only team that's willing to take him that has expiring contracts. Like,
yeah,
that's the problem. And I just think this just reeks of ego to me, and I hate it when GMs do this when they don't want to lose the press release, and it happens more often than you think. And this has been something that's kind of driven me nuts this entire week. It feels like there's been a lot of moves for guys to do trades to keep their jobs, whether it's kicking the can down the road or making a deal to say that they did something. It feels like a lot of this helps my chances of retaining my job versus what's best for the franchise. And I'm kind of like, you should be able to do both.
Number one job, keep the job. That's your number one job as a GM. Hayes, when you look around the league, and we'll move off the John Morant part of this here after this, but like there was a rumor out there that maybe the Bucks could get in on John Morant as do it for the kids type of last ditch effort. I don't know. Is there another team out there that you think makes any sense for Morant?
I mean, the Bucks make sense to trying to get any talent in there. So I can't say that it doesn't make sense. I don't know if they have that. Well, depends on how low Memphis plans on selling him. But I mean, the Heat make the most sense. I would have said the Minnesota Timberwolves before they got Ayo Dosunmu. I think they're set now. I think it's the Heat, maybe the Kings, and that's it.
We're going to move on here. We're going to bring in Camille Davis over from Locked On Bucks. Camille, thanks for joining the show.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Camille?
We talked a little bit about the report already that Giannis is staying put, at least through the trade deadline here. So we know this, and we know that they're going to revisit things potentially over the summer, or at least take some phone calls. But there are some rumblings out there that maybe the Bucks were never actually serious about moving Giannis before the deadline. What do you think that they were serious? Do you think that there was ever a chance that Milwaukee could have moved Giannis before the deadline, or was this all just sort of just an exercise in trying to figure out what maybe the value is out there?
I think about the latter. I think that it's fair to say, like, the reason Milwaukee fans have been so adamant about Giannis staying is because they've heard the same story for 8 years now of Giannis wants out, he's going to be out, and year after year he remains here. But the difference in this season was that this was the first time the Bucks have really been bad since he's been good. So with that, there was just conversations of like, hey, can this front office, can this team actually put together a championship contending team? And it wasn't looking great for him early on. So it led to the front office for the first time, according to reports, actually having the conversations, engaging what it would be like to trade Giannis. So there was some smoke there, but the ultimate hope, I think, for both sides remains the same, which is find a way to make it work with Giannis in Milwaukee.
What do the Bucks want now? That's what I want to know. It's like other than just like good players, which would be good, but what are the things that the Bucks are actually going to be looking for in the market between now and the deadline?
It's a great question, and one where I don't really have a good feel on it, because on one end you hear the Bucks are in on names like a Ja Morant, so on and so forth, where it's like, okay, they could go out and try to get that second star right now if the value is right for it. The other hand of it could be like, hey, we actually got a little cap space. We actually want to try to acquire more assets ahead of this 2026 draft. Maybe the route we take is just taking on some of these smaller deals going forward here, try to get some more assets and see how we can reload that either in the draft itself, packaged along with other goods to bring another player, so on and so forth. So the Bucks remain, to me, a mystery heading into the deadline here, because they could be a team where it's like, hey, huge move was made, didn't expect Milwaukee to do it, or it can be like, hey, they just made some minor moves here, got some more assets, and they're moving forward.
Wes, would the Heat do anything to help Milwaukee at all?
In terms of like making them better for this run? We've heard that the Bucks are interested in Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
And have liked having Wiggins. I guess, would Milwaukee, I mean, with the limited draft assets that they have, be willing to give Miami something now, knowing that they could turn around in the summer and give it back to Milwaukee in a Giannis pitch at the very least this summer? It's interesting, Camille. I don't know. How aggressive do you think the Bucks are actually going to be here when they know kind of another Giannis decision is looming here?
Well, if Horst's track record is any indication, they're going to be aggressive in one way, one form, one fashion. Like, I saw some rumblings. Matt, I want to know if you've heard anything about this. Have you heard anything about Miles Turner?
I was going to ask you about this.
And
Yeah.
Milwaukee?
So one of the things that I heard Boston at least made an exploratory call
prior to the Chicago trade.
Yeah, but prior to the Chicago trade, that he was one of the bigs that they called on. And then I also heard Phoenix had conversations as well.
Okay, so it doesn't seem like either of those doors would remain open at this point. But Horst could do something. I'm curious to see what happens with Bobby Portis before the trade deadline comes to a close, and even Kyle Kuzma. Although Kuz isn't the type of guy that you want to say like is your second best player or anything like that, but he has bought into what the Bucks need. And one thing that they still are very lacking on is size on the wing. And Kyle Kuzma still remains their only like playable wing with size. So I'll be curious to see what happens at the deadline with those two going forward.
I mean, Miles Bridges seems like the most likely here.
Yeah.
That's been in talks for about a month. And I don't know if that's dead now. I can't keep track of who the Hornets have and do not at this point. But I do kind of wonder if there's something to be done there with Miles Bridges as an addition, because clearly, I mean, the Bucks have made it very clear they don't care about character issues. They're just like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Which is a change. So we'll see how that continues to go.
That's fine. It's funny. It's almost like someone new owns the majority share of the team, and then that policy shifted. Odd. What does that guy do again? Oh yeah, he's also the owner of the Browns. They didn't add anybody that had those kind of issues. No, certainly not. That would be weird.
Camille,
listen.
I want to ask you.
Danny Cunningham.
There's a tease for what's coming up next. Camille, I want to ask you, in your opinion, right? We know what the Milwaukee Bucks hope. We understand what Giannis is saying publicly. Do you think that there's any hope in reeling all of this back in and Giannis signing an extension in October? Or is this just are we too far down the path where that's maybe even a realistic thing to hope for?
I think it's still hope there. Like, as soon as I saw the news that Giannis was staying past this deadline, the first thing I said was just keep hope alive. Like, this is a step in the right direction. Like, this is no indication that he is going to be here forever, because this summer will really tell all. And the fact that he can't put pen to paper on that extension until October just already makes it feel like this is going to be a long summer in Milwaukee, really trying to figure that out. Because until I see pen to paper with Giannis in Milwaukee with that extension, everything else just kind of like, I'm just kind of watching it curiously. But we've seen relationships get to a point in the NBA before where the player and the team seem like they're heading for a split, but eventually they do reconcile and they come back together and they figure out a pathway forward. Now, if you ask me, how realistic is it for the Bucks to actually put a contending team around Giannis? That's a conversation that will require a bit more time. But if they get some luck this season, in the sense of they get a high draft pick, they're able to package some other assets that they have, you might be able to put together something really interesting heading into next season, depending on how the lottery thing goes and what assets are available for the team.
I asked the panelists already. I'll ask you now. Should they make a move on Ja over the next hour and 10 minutes?
I do not think that they should. I don't think that the Ja and Giannis pairing makes a lot of sense, just given that Giannis needs the space. And Ja Morant is not known as being a top tier shooter. I mean, you saw also what it looks like in Milwaukee with Giannis trying to get used to playing next to a very ball dominant guard in Damian Lillard. And Dame could actually shoot with some gravity there to kind of help ease things out. So I'm not too sure about the pairing spacing wise with those two. If the price was low, I could probably talk myself into it, but not really. I just really don't see the fit between Giannis and Ja.
Anything else for Camille? Camille Davis, Locked On Bucks. Thanks so much for jumping on, Camille. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more from you over the summer.
Oh, yeah, a lot more.
Thanks so much.
See ya.
We are now joined by Danny Cunningham over from Locked On Cavs. What's new?
I just came here to talk about Jimmy Haslam, not James Harden, Jimmy Haslam. That's what this is about, right, Matt?
I will not comment on any NBA owner that has the money to have me killed. That is not what I will do.
Danny, I listened to your episode of Locked On Cavs, reacting to the breaking news, James Harden for Darius Garland swap. You were skeptical about the trade at first. I think it's a fair way to assess that. Now that you've had a little bit of time to marinate and think about this trade a little bit more, have your thoughts changed at all?
A little bit. I think that this is a runway shortening trade. Like if the Cavs don't win the title this year or next year, or maybe the year after that, then like you look at the future gets pretty bleak at that point. Because they traded away a 26-year-old two-time All-Star for a guy that is 36 and is still an incredible talent. And right now, partially because of Darius Garland's injuries, is a better basketball player than Darius Garland. So this does, I think, make the Cavs better at this moment. I think it makes them better for this postseason run. I think it makes them so that they can hang on to Donovan Mitchell this summer and get him to sign an extension, because I do think that is something that matters. But overall, like, this is a pretty drastic change. Like, I do think that there are some concerns about play style. Like, what is it going to look like with Harden alongside Donovan Mitchell? We have seen Harden, I think, at times not be the best player on a team, but I don't think we've ever seen him be the second best guard on a team. And I'm very curious to see how that plays in Cleveland. So there are a lot of questions that we don't have answers to. I know this is not what I'm here to talk about. The other trade they made, I thought was great, getting DeAndre Hunter out of Cleveland in exchange for Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. Like, I think that's going to do awesome things for the Cavs, and getting Lonzo Ball off the team will also do awesome things for the Cavs. But obviously the biggest trade they made is the one that has the most question marks.
So I've been told in the chat I need to be nicer, and I promise I will be. But Danny, when you
not to me,
when you guys signed Harden to a multi-year extension for a player of his shape and age, and then Donovan asks out next year, and you're stuck with James Harden on a long-term contract, like, what are you going to switch to? Are you going to cover the Browns? Is there a college team in town that you can switch to, or?
I will not be covering the Browns. I can assure you of that. Maybe I'll try and find my lane in covering professional golf. I think that'd be cool. I'm a big golf guy. I'm wearing a Nike golf hoodie right now. Like, maybe that'd be, but no, like, I do think that as part of this, I think the Cavs would expect to sign Donovan Mitchell to an extension. I don't know how long that extension will be. He's extension eligible this summer. Obviously, things have to go well in the playoffs for that to happen. The Eastern Conference is wide open. Like, I do think that before this trade, you could look up and down the standings in the East and say, well, I could see the Cavs beating all of those teams. Like, I think there are questions about the Pistons. There are questions about the Knicks, about the Celtics, about the Raptors. Like, I could have seen it happening. I also could have seen the Cavs losing to any of those teams. And I think those two things are still true. But I think the likelihood of them losing to those teams is a little bit less than it was before.
Danny, what do the Cavs need to do in the playoffs? Like, do they need to win the championship in order to convince, do you think, Donovan Mitchell to sign that extension? Do they need to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Like, what does Donovan Mitchell need to see from this new look kind of team in the postseason where they're going to feel good about getting that extension signed this summer?
I think if they get to the finals, they should feel really good about things, right? Like, you win the conference, like, you should feel very good about things. And I would not pick them to win the NBA championship this year. Teams that make major moves like the Cavs made in trading for James Harden, they just don't win the title right away. That historically does not happen in NBA history. But if they can find a way to get to the finals with a wide open East, that, like, you cannot convince me that they're not capable of winning the Eastern Conference this year. I think that would certainly be enough. I'm curious if getting to the conference finals would be enough. Anything less than that is a catastrophic failure of this move, of this season as a whole. Even if they would not have made this move, that doesn't change. So I do think that it needs to be at the very least conference finals, but Eileen, you have to win the East to feel good about things.
What are you most worried about with the Donovan Mitchell edition? Or I'm sorry, with the James Harden edition?
How he fits with Donovan Mitchell. Because I think, like, if you look at a lot of the numbers, in the Cavs had not necessarily, the Cavs have fallen off a cliff offensively when Donovan Mitchell has been off the floor. And if you look at the Clippers, and we watched the Cavs play the Clippers last night, and their offense was abysmal, they've also fallen off a cliff when James Harden has been off the floor. So I do think the thing that the Cavs are, the biggest reason for this move is Donovan Mitchell was carrying way too heavy of a load on his shoulders. Like, if you go back and watch the game they played against Phoenix last Friday, and then the game they played against Portland on Sunday, and the Portland game was a win because Jared Allen had the best night of his basketball life where he had 40 points. But Donovan Mitchell looked exhausted in those games. They need to find a way to take some things off of his plate, and James Harden can do that. Like, there are the playoff questions. Those things absolutely exist. But they needed a way to not have this offense fall off a cliff, and they couldn't count on Darius Garland to be available to do that. Like, the Clippers had an offensive rating of, I believe, 118 with James Harden on the floor this year, and that was like 108 when he was on the bench. The Cavs, it's like 117.8 with Donovan Mitchell on the floor, and it's, I believe, around 109 with him off the floor. So being able to pair those two together and ensuring that one of those offensive engines is always on the floor, I think is kind of the boost they need.
Are people in Cleveland prepared for a potential future of Donovan Mitchell not on the team, James Harden signed to an extension, and the core is 2 years from now, 38-year-old James Harden throwing lobs to whatever 24-year-old at that point, however old he's going to be, Evan Mobley? Like, are we prepared for a Harden Mobley future in Cleveland?
I can't believe, one, you did not mention LeBron James as part of that future. Like, I'm
3 years
stunned
from
that I mean, who knows with that guy? But no, I don't think people are prepared for that. I think that this is a move that they are looking at the next 2 to 3 years, and whatever happens after that happens after that. I don't think that fans have thought that far down the road. I mean, there are certainly some that are upset that Darius Garland was traded, and I understand it. Like, he was the longest tenured guy on the Cavs. He was the first guy after LeBron that really made fans believe, oh, we can have something here in Cleveland. Like, this can be a good post LeBron future, which did not happen the time before. Even with Kyrie Irving, like, I don't think it brought that type of hope the way that Darius Garland did. So I understand why fans certainly miss him. And like, I still think he has a very bright future as a basketball player, but I think that this is a move about this year, next year, and the year after that. And then whatever happens beyond that, who knows?
Is there talk about how this impacts a potential LeBron James reunion this summer?
I have not necessarily heard that. I do think like it is. I don't want to sit here on February 5th and say, yeah, it's likely LeBron ends up in Cleveland next year. But if you're like looking at some of the puzzle pieces or connecting the dots, I just don't know how many other places out there LeBron might play. Like, I think it's the worst kept secret is probably not going to be on the Lakers next year. Does LeBron want to have that photo of him wearing a random jersey when he's in his 40s that isn't part of his story? Kind of the way Michael Jordan did with the Wizards, or, you know, the way that Patrick Ewing did and Hakeem Olajuwon did, like the photo of those two playing against each other with the Magic and the Raptors. Does LeBron want that? I would probably guess not. Like, I think if he plays, it's going to be in Cleveland. I don't know that he's going to play. But I also do think for him to be in Cleveland, you have to be able to say this is a team that can win a title next year. Is Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell and James Harden enough to say that? It might be.
I'm going to circle back to you, Danny, on this last question, but I want to ask Hayes and Matt first. James Harden, Keon Ellis, Dennis Schroeder in. Looks like Lonzo Ball out, Darius Garland out. Hayes, do you like the Cavs more after the trade deadline than before the trade deadline in terms of, you know, moving up in the Eastern Conference this season?
Yeah, I think I do like them more. Not to say that the James Harden one isn't a huge question, but Darius Garland has just not been healthy. James Harden is healthy. I think he's also going to do wonders for Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Keon Ellis is an upgrade over Lonzo Ball wholeheartedly. So I think the Cavs have added depth. They've added a new dynamic with James Harden they have to figure out, but I do like them better as a contender.
Matt?
I like them probably slightly worse.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Hunter, and I think that I don't think DeAndre was happy there. That's the sense that I got. But I also I just think that you needed more size, and I don't like them. You know, the idea is like, well, they got Keon Ellis, and I'm very much kind of like two different coaches with different philosophies did not think that he was a guy that needed to play a lot. That makes me very nervous because that probably means something. And you're like, well, it's the Kings. And I'm like, yeah, but Mike Brown was like a good coach before and during and after. Probably indicates something. And I'm not necessarily high on Dennis Schroeder either. I'm worried that Atkinson's still going to play lineups that are offensively centric versus defensively centric. I look at this as, yes, Donovan, yes, it's true that Garland was not available, and you increase availability with Harden. That's been like the talking point. Defensively, when they were available, it went from you got Mitchell and Garland, who are both undersized, to now Mitchell, who's undersized, and Harden, who is a log. And I'm just a little bit concerned about. I would have rather have seen a little bit more defensive versatility added at the deadline for this team to feel a little bit better about them.
Danny?
So I feel better about them partially because of the availability aspect, but also partially I do think it's a little bit of addition by subtraction. Like the DeAndre Hunter trade last year was magnificent for the Cavs, and he was awesome in Cleveland at the end of the regular season and in that first round series against the Heat, really until he dislocated his thumb against the Pacers in game 1 of that series. He was awesome in the playoffs. This year, his on-off difference is negative 7.4. Like the Cavs are 7.4 points better when he's on the bench compared to when he was playing for them. Lonzo Ball was a disaster in Cleveland. The Cavs basically turned into the worst offense in basketball when he was on the floor this year. They got rid of guys that were not actively helping them win. And the idea of those guys was exactly what the Cavs needed, but it also didn't work out. Like watching last night, and Dennis Schroeder did not have some awesome game. He took 9 shots in the paint last night. Lonzo Ball took 24 shots in the paint his entire time in Cleveland. The Cavs have so sorely missed guys from the perimeter that can get to the basket. Those two guys couldn't do that consistently. And I think that's a big part of the reason why. And Darius Garland couldn't do it consistently because he wasn't on the floor consistently. So I do think that's a big reason why their offense is going to go in a much better direction than what it was. Defensively, they still have some questions, but I do think as long as you have Evan Mobley, you've got good defenders on the wing, and Keon Ellis. Dean Wade is a magnificent defender out there too. Jared Allen, obviously very good as well. Like I think this team should feel very good about the direction it's headed in for this year.
Yeah, I like the move for Cleveland. I've talked about this before, but I think a big reason why they were able to make it work between Garland and Mitchell last year when that offense was doing what it was doing was because they drove to the rim so much. Both of them were always driving to the basket, putting pressure on the basket, and kicking out to those shooters. And to Danny's point, they lost that because Garland wasn't healthy. So you have Mitchell, who's able to do that, obviously, and then James Harden, who is ranked among the top drivers in the league for 10 years now, every single season. I think that's part of the formula that worked last year. Now is trying to recreate last year's formula in a weird way enough to make it out of the East. This time around, I guess we'll see. Danny Cunningham, you do a terrific job covering the Cavs over at Locked On Cavs. Thanks so much for jumping on, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
A couple of housekeeping things, small trades. The Nets have done 2 deals. They They took on Hunter Tyson and a Nuggets second rounder in exchange for another second rounder that's swapped. It's a second rounder.
Gets the Nuggets under the tax.
Yeah, woo! Let's go! The Nuggets saved Stan Kroenke a couple of million. Yeah.
How many years in a row is that they've done that at the dedeadline?
Oh my god, it's
like 2 or 3 years in a row, right?
No, like they've been a tax team. They're in the repeater.
Oh,
they've been a tax team. Nets also acquired Josh Minot from the Boston Celtics. That's a good pickup, I think, for the Nets. As I don't know who is on and off that team. Like in my mind, the Nets have like 30 players signed. And then finally, the Sixers are trading Eric Gordon to the Memphis Grizzlies with a second round pick. So Memphis takes on the money and picks up a second rounder for that. So sorry to Eric Gordon.
Eric Gordon may never actually go to Memphis in this deal. He might. Yeah, that could be a buyout candidate potentially there. Hayes, I want to ask you before we leave here, how many guards are currently on the Chicago Bulls? Oh, man. How many guards are on the Bulls roster right now?
Out of a 15-man roster, we have 10 guards.
Seems like a lot.
That seems like a lot, man.
It's a little bit, right?
There's only one ball.
What
are they doing? What is the plan here? What's happening?
So I think the plan is, unfortunately, is that the Bulls plan on tanking the rest of the season. And I mean, I would have said that's an asinine idea before what happened. Like we actually traded one of our better players to Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets are 1 game below the Bulls. And so they'll pass the Bulls up. The Bulls will be out of the play-in. And as we've seen how the way that the lottery has worked out, maybe that's the sweet spot to actually win it. But it seems, unless another move comes right now, because we have no bigs on the roster, it seems like the plan may be to just not be good the rest of this way.
I will not take the Gershon Yabusele erasure there.
I mean, like
he's 6'7". Like Wait, our point guard's taller than him.
Big the other way.
I mean, yes, he 6'7". He is 265, so there is that part of it. But like Gershon also is like, I get when he's been good, he's looked like this nice mix of athleticism and strength and all that. He just not has looked like that. Now maybe it just wasn't a good situation in New York. He wasn't playing a lot of minutes, so maybe he can come in and help this team. He's the one player that we took on that has money beyond this year, so they clearly believe in something with him.
Are you glad that they are at least choosing a direction?
Yes, finally, yes.
That like finally,
it makes it weird that you just paid Josh Giddey $25 million to now spend the next 2 or 3 seasons of that deal not being good. But hey,
the IO deal is baffling.
He's the one player that I didn't want them to trade. He's the one player that I didn't want them to
trade. And if you did, how do you not get they should have got
first round pick for him.
You got 2 non-NBA players. I'm sorry, Rob Dillingham does not look like an NBA player at this point.
I mean, I think it's fine because it's like there's upside there. It's at a position you don't need, obviously.
That's true too.
But like, I get it's a young asset, right? It's a guy that was picked in the top 10. I know people don't necessarily like that framing, but I'm always kind of like, look, there was a reason that he was mocked and projected in that range based off of the prospects. Like, I get that side of it. I'm just like, how did nobody come in and beat this with a quality draft pick? Like he's affordable and good, and there's just not a lot of those guys in the league right now.
We've seen the Bulls do this before, right? Alex Caruso, a guy that was apparently able to fetch a first-round pick in a trade. They end up using Caruso to get Josh Giddey, and I actually think that trade worked out for the Bulls. Maybe Dillingham blossoms into the guy that they were hoping to be.
Though. Josh Giddey, when he was able to play point guard, had times looking really good on the OKC Thunder team. Rob Dillingham is an undersized scorer who's a point guard size, but he's more of a shooting guard in skill set, and he just can't create his own shot or create separation to get his shot off consistently in the NBA.
We have another hour left here before the NBA trade deadline. We'll see what happens. We're going to log off here for now on the live stream. We'll be back for Locked On NBA Game Night. Not us, but we as a network will be back on Locked On NBA Game Night. If there is breaking news, we will be back later after the trade deadline. Or Matt and Hayes, you guys will be back after the trade deadline.
Yeah, we're actually devoted to the job, so we're serious.
He's a family. He got family stuff to do. That's not a fair joke there.
We'll be here. We'll be here. You know, no excuses. Bring the child on.
I'll ask the
Bring
5
the
month.
child
I'll ask my 5-month-year-old or my 5-month-old girl what she thinks about.
Can't get a 5-month-old on Bill Simmons' podcast. That's not gonna happen.
Maybe here though.
Hilarious.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you watched us here on our live stream here on YouTube, the NBA trade deadline special, Matt and Hayes will be back later. And of course, all 3 of us will be back on Friday afternoon. For now, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.